Hello, guys. Welcome to the Empowered Hearts podcast. Today we have Callie David, a holistic therapist, on. She is a dear friend. And lately I think like with this 8-8 portal, I've been thinking about the Matrix programming. And I was like, and then you came to mind, Callie. I was like, we need to share Callie's story because Callie used to be a registered therapist and then left that programming we're going to dig into why, but left that programming and now helps people. I guess you could, like, under quotations, call a life coach, which is whatever, but we're not getting into labels. But yeah, welcome, Callie.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Callie.
Hi.
So
So
nice to have you on here.
Aw, thank you. So good to be here with y'all.
So like what is your journey? How did you end up, because you're living in Costa Rica now, right? You're back.
Yeah, I'm
So
back.
but you're also from Texas, I believe.
Mhm.
So like, what is your journey? Just like, could you share with us, like, how did you end up a therapist? And then what made you be like, no, I'm leaving the Matrix?
All right, how long do we have here?
We have lots. We have lots of time.
Great. We'll go into it. I love that question. So I grew up in a very unstable home where there was abuse and neglect and loss, and lost my mother at a young age. So I just kind of grew up in the therapy office. Um, but my siblings and I were just talking about this, which is really interesting, is we never actually, I think I had the story that like therapy was a second home for me, which it was, but it also didn't feel super safe. Like I knew that there was something missing in therapy. My dad would randomly start saying things when we were younger that we were like, how do you know that? Like we thought that like there were things that we would just tell our therapist, and then we would be like, uh-huh. And then later on,
No.
yeah. And I remember like having this weird thing, like I never wanted to talk about things. Things would always just end up coming out sideways in my life. Like, and I'd be like, how is this happening? I thought this was all confidential. And so my siblings felt the same thing. So I think like coming from also that background of like, okay, I knew that, but I knew that like therapy, there was, I think subconsciously, I knew that I always was going to like break away from the traditional therapy model.
Mhm.
Um, and I say that all to say like, as a certified therapist, you do have to obey confidentiality, but not everyone really does. So like, I just want to also bring light to kind of like the other side of therapy that not everyone really talks about is like the fact that we have free will, and so to really use discernment, especially when it comes to children's therapists. And so with that, and then also just growing up in the therapy room and also taking on the role of a caretaker for my family members, I just kind of like naturally slid into this spot. Like I think I just grew up really quick at a young age. I really had a big heart for helping others. Like I always wanted to help out the homeless
Yeah.
and go to Africa, I said when I was younger. So it's just like, it's just kind of been woven into my life path where I used to just be like, I just want to help like everyone in the world. And now here I am.
Beautiful.
Realizing that I actually probably just wanted to help myself.
Mhm.
And then that journey in me coming back to myself has allowed me to be a light and a vessel for others that are desiring that. So that's a little background of like my childhood and kind of what how I grew up in the therapy setting in general. Yeah.
So you just mentioned the other side of therapy, like that pinged my ears. Can you get into that a little bit?
Yeah. Um, so I went to school for marriage and family therapy in Colorado, and um, it's pretty still stuck, not pretty, very still stuck in matrix, dogmatic, patriarchal ways. And I remember things kind of standing out in grad school, but I was still really deep in the matrix. But I remember standing out of like very heteronormative. Even on the licensure exams, it was like, imagine you are a 45-year-old white male. And I was just like, I just remember things just really, really feeling icky to me.
Mhm.
I would also say that like something else that they kind of shared in grad school was, as amazing as it was, I loved the ethical aspects of it, some of it. But another part would just be that like they pretty much trained us just to be almost like robots. I felt like all through grad school, I was
Mm,
like, where is the heart? Where is the
mhm.
heart of this? Like basically us just being like a clean slate for our clientele, which to some extent I see that as important depending on the clientele that you're working with, right? Like, but on the other extent, I'm basically like, we heal in co-regulation. We heal when the heart is online. And
Mhm.
if I'm just sitting here nodding and having reflecting words back and forth, like where is that human to human aspect of it? So there, and I'm sure there's more that will probably come up in today's conversation. But those are just a few of the ways where I was like, this is very binary, very dogmatic,
Mhm.
very patriarchal. Like there was just so many little pings throughout. When I was still, I would say like not awake even. Like I would not consider myself super spiritual in grad school. And even then things were standing out.
That's amazing to have that kind of awareness that like it should go deeper than this.
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I
Yeah.
also grew up in the therapist's office. So, and then recently with what occurred in my personal life in earlier this year, I've now been asked to go back to see a psychologist. And now I have found the most spiritual psychologist here. He
Hmm.
does hypnosis, he does like other things. He works with the subconscious, which I was like, okay, fine, I will do this because of that.
Mhm.
But I said to Crystal, like I had 2 sessions when I was at her house a little while ago, and I was like, I don't know if we're like having tea time or like what we're doing, but I don't, we're not, we haven't accomplished anything. Like all we're
Mhm.
doing is re-speaking my subconscious programs out loud over and over and over and over again. And like, mind you, he does implement meditation, which thank God. But what
Mhm.
is the point? Is it literally just like, I
Yeah,
understand you have to get things off your chest. I understand that, but
yeah,
then what?
yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Like, well, like, what were you trained? Like, talk about your problems? Are you supposed to learn modalities or?
Well, okay, so this is the interesting thing is like, and there's always in my perspective in life, there's a both and in so many things. So I understand the education around building rapport, which can take, depending on how many protectors that this individual has. I mean, it could take a couple sessions to months to maybe even a year for some individuals to really feel safe enough to
Mhm.
start opening up to someone else. So where maybe nowadays the spiritual coaching world, we're like first session, let's dive in.
Mhm.
For some people that can be a lot and really jolting to their system. So it's like a soft science because we weren't trained modalities really. I did we learned the basis of different cognitive behavioral therapy. We learned attachment theory. We learned different theories. And then we had to write like a thesis. And we also were like videoed and therapy sessions for like 9 months. So we got good practice in these main modalities, but none of them really actually broke to like the core of it. Most of them were based
Mhm.
around like around building rapport, reflecting, and allowing the other person to feel seen. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, that's amazing. And for some
Mhm.
people, maybe that's all they ever need. I mean, you can imagine someone who's been in an abused household, living with someone who's never taken care of them. Maybe that is the basis of what they need for the rest of their life,
Mhm.
right? It's just
Yep.
someone for 50 to 60 minutes just to listen to them, just to hear them, just to reflect.
Yeah.
I think for individuals like us, and once you like kind of start waking up to some things, we're craving something more.
Mhm.
I also just want to like say the other side of it is like for some people that might be all that they ever get to.
Yeah, I mean that's a good answer.
That
Like
makes sense.
I'm truly interested because I've it was years and years and years of therapy and psychiatrists and psychologists and medication and never being able to understand my issues. And then when I found our mentor, I was like, like finally I get it. Like I can process my emotions by regulating my nervous system. Why didn't somebody tell me this 20 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think the missing link for you was, Morgan, from what you had experienced in traditional therapy and psychotherapy to what you feel now, and that like, oh, this is it?
Solutions. So I find therapy is not solution based, it's problem based. Life coaching or coaching mentorship is solution based.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually, and root cause healing. And that has been like the holy amen to me.
It's like,
Okay.
I don't think you realize the profound impact root healing has on you until you've done it and you're like, holy shit, I feel so good.
Yes.
Right? It's like this layer of weight has been lifted that you've been carrying for your entire life, that when you go back to that moment of trauma or the childhood when those emotions flood in, the ones that you've like been taught not to feel, and then all of a sudden you're surfacing that, and you like find that you have space to breathe, and it's like, oh, we're not just going to talk about it, but we're going to feel through it.
Yeah.
So different, and it's like so much more healing to the energy system and the body.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of this. I mean, that's the thing, is like therapy is so problem focused.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I actually blend therapeutic. This is why I call myself a therapeutic guide, is because I blend traditional and non-traditional modalities together, because sometimes we might need to be a little problem oriented, but I don't think that that's how we need to. Therapy tends to look at someone like they are the problem instead of looking at them like they are whole, and that there have been symptoms in their life that have created their issue at hand. And so I love what y'all are sharing, because that's really it, is like when you get more into coaching, guidance, mentorship, we're looking at more of the solution of like, where do you want to go?
Yeah.
How are you? Where do you want to go? And also, sometimes that might mean going back into the past, getting to the root of it. But we don't need to stay there forever. Let's see it. Let's find its golden nuggets of how it's supporting you. Let's clear it. And then now let's move on. And your birthright is freedom and ease and peace. Let's move into that. We don't need to circle around for 50-minute sessions every week about like what my newest problem is. We then get addicted to the problem.
So true. So true. And it's like that's kind of how I felt about it too, because I also did therapy as a kid and like a young adult. And I was like, as I had awakened and started to do therapy, I thought to myself, I'm literally like counting all the things in my life that brought me so much pain. And now I'm going to sit in this session and talk about them and feel hungover after. I was like, what is the point? What is the point?
So,
well,
okay, so you did this, Callie. So you were in this. So you were in as a therapist, and then like what transpired? Like how long were you in this, and why did you decide to move away from it?
Can I share one thing before I hop in?
Oh yeah.
Moment, of course, when I'm with y'all. So part of my process has been moving through this addiction to pain, this addiction to pain story. And it served me because I've gotten attention for it, right? Like ever since I was young, if something was wrong, then that meant either a therapist would come in, my dad, the school teacher. I got met and loved for there being something wrong with me.
Yeah.
So in this theory, in this path of coming back to my wholeness, I've just been like, well, but what about this problem? And what about this problem? Because I'm so afraid to actually like be okay. And I think a big part of that has actually been because of my whole life in therapy. It's like basically you build this safe relationship, and once you feel okay, the relationship transitions. The therapist transitions himself out of it. And it's like, wait, so you're saying that being okay is actually, maybe I won't get the attention, maybe the relationships end. Like, yeah, so I'm just having this aha moment as we're saying this. It's literally been programmed in since I was a kid, and so many other people's lives as well too.
You know what, it's funny that
So
you say
true.
this, and not, and all, like, as well as, of course, as this weekend, I've had a friend who has like really awakened to the fact that she's an alcoholic, and she has me at her fingertips, but you know, if you don't want to take the help, you're not going to, you have to want it. And I thought about this. I was like, she is so addicted to this story, because the story, and same with me, like for forever, it was, well, I wasn't getting attention from mom or dad, but the therapist gave me attention, or being in pain or being traumatized, like then I got attention, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
It's them. It gives them, there's some needs being met there.
And there's no shame with that. Like it's just,
just what you've learned.
yeah, it's like your water well supply. It's dripping water, it's dripping life force for you, and it feels good. You're like, oh, I'm doing a good thing. And you probably, it's like the martyr in you doesn't even realize is on. It's just, you're like, oh yes, like I'm doing this good thing. Like, look how good I am. And really you're self-sabotaging your own success.
Ooh, speak the wisdom, mama. That's it. Yeah, you really are.
So then, yeah, like what happened? I'm so curious, like what made you decide like this is not working?
So I remember just being stuck. It was after grad school. Um, I was working in community mental health, and I just remember like not being lit up and thinking, and I worked with homelessness, marginalized populations, those in the criminal justice system. I worked with infants, adults, and I just saw this same theme, which was just very surface level, very, I mean, and don't get me wrong, this population also is like, you know, if we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we're not doing some accelerating, we're basically working on basic needs. But I'm still just thinking like there's just something missing in the therapy setting. And so then I stepped out and kind of dabbled into private practice for a little bit as well, and still was just like I just wasn't fulfilled. And I was like, we're only getting so far with my clients, you know? And then of course I like took it on to being like, let's just learn 20 different modalities because maybe I'm missing something. And I hired my own coach. I was moving through a hard time myself. And in that time I hired a coach, and it changed my whole life. Just like you said, Morgan, like, and I will never forget her to this day. I mean, she introduced me to breath work. And I got breathwork trained. She introduced me to my Reiki teacher and got, you know, energy healing trained. She was initiation into my feminine body, my womb, my emotional feeling body. I mean, it was like 20 years of therapy in 3 months.
Yeah.
And it was like, bingo, that's it. And I couldn't bring breath work. I couldn't bring energy work. I couldn't bring this holistic modalities to any of my private practice. I couldn't bring texting support. That was huge. Like just the one-on-one support in between session.
Yep.
And that's when I was like, okay, I need to step away. Like there is so much, we are missing spirit. And that was when I started having my spiritual awakening. And I was like, I can't not talk about God. I can't like, I moved down to, this is a different story, but I moved down to Brazil at the same time. So I was also living in a very feminine culture where you could just feel nature and spirit. And I was like, this needs to be a part of our wholeness journey. Like we are nature. We have speckles of God in us. Like I can't stay quiet anymore.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
It gives me chills.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, is it against the guidelines to bring in breath work? Like, would you get in shit for that?
So I did talk to someone when I got breathwork trained with David Elliott. There was someone on his team that was a licensed therapist, and she said it's a fine line, that she could do it. But like when she held groups, she had to obviously maintain confidentiality because many of them were her private clients. What else? There was like many different, she basically had like two different attorneys and had to advertise on two different sites. Like there's just such a mix of it because
Mm,
it's not an evidence-based modality. That's the
mm,
problem, is like we still live in the matrix where like insurances only cover evidence-based where there's research on it. And so we really actually are getting down to the core and the energy of these modalities. The most incredible ones are not research evidence-based
mm.
yet.
That's so interesting. So when you say insurance, do you mean like, because I'm insured,
Like you can
Yeah.
claim it.
but you can't claim it. Like I'm insured, but
Mhm.
as a hypnotist, but no, somebody could not put that through a claim. And hypnosis is like the oldest thing, and yet, but it like there, I guess it hasn't gone through evidence. And evidence-based training, and my really true feeling is that because this stuff works,
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to do research because they know it works. So let's just push out that this stuff is wonky, that, it's weird, and breath work doesn't actually work, and meditating is, the Buddha only. Because if they really, we don't need that much of it.
Yeah.
No,
We wouldn't
no,
need Western
Profit.
medicine then.
Yeah, you can't profit off of something you don't constantly need.
exactly. I mean, this goes back down to like big pharma and all of this. It's like
Yeah.
the medical model is so, you know what, that
Yeah.
they know that these modalities will actually get us out of this broken system that we're in.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Good. I'm really glad that you brought that in, Morgan.
It's
It's sad.
interesting though, because like naturopathic medicine, some of it is covered. And
Yeah.
massages,
Uh-huh.
Yep.
That's the
Huh.
thing. I'm glad that you brought that in too, because it is I mean, and now they're starting to get psychedelic assisted therapy covered, like ketamine, and they're working on MDMA. So I do think that it's a slippery slope, and maybe eventually we'll get there where hypnotherapy or breath work is. I mean, because all of this is our birthright.
Yeah.
Like it's unfortunate that we have to charge someone to teach you how to breathe accurately.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm before like James Nestor, the breath book, because he goes into all of the science behind it. He gives you techniques. I'm like, I tell people all the time, like this is free. It's your birthright. Like, yeah.
It's funny. So you can charge through insurance if you are a hypnotherapist, because you'd be a therapist, but because I'm not a registered therapist,
You can't.
yeah.
So you can get hypnotherapy covered under insurance if you're a registered therapist.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. But I like kick and scream against that. I'm like, no, you're not going to tell me that I have to go to school to then, like, no, like that's the whole thing that I've moved away from, because
Yeah.
I was like, my whole journey of becoming empowered was, don't go to, like, I was like, should I go to school to become a therapist? That way I'll be accepted. So I have this like thing. I'm like, don't do that. Like you can be okay. You can earn money,
Mhm.
can have a voice without going that way. So I purposely haven't done it for the reasons of
Mhm.
like, maybe one day for the sake of being able to help more mass people, I'll do it. But for right now, for the whole reason of like, don't lean into the matrix, because I can do it on my own, and I'm
Mhm.
powerful enough and knowledgeable enough. I feel like if I veer into the therapist path right now, it'll fuck with my mind.
Mm.
Oh,
Mhm.
Morgan.
The systems.
Yeah.
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 Such an empowering journey for you of like, I could go down this route, and you're so smart and educated. It's like this would be nothing for you. And also it's not actually about that. It's
Mhm.
more your journey of like, I don't need this to reaffirm my identity or my worth or how great of a space holder I am.
So true.
there's it almost just reminds me of unhealthy relationships that you still get things from. It's like they maybe pay for things for you, or you still get a lot of benefits from an unhealthy relationship, right? Toxic patterns.
Yes.
Kind of reminds me of that with the licensing board, because you might get benefits of like, yeah, you get to help a greater amount of people, which I love. Like, I miss that. I miss being able to support those financially in need. And also you get different perks but you're also being governed by another board that's literally watching you like a hawk. You're also very problem oriented. If you're going through insurance, everyone has to have a diagnosis. We all know that diagnoses can actually do more harm at times for individuals. So it's kind of like you're weighing it out, pros and cons of like, do I want to stay in this unhealthy relationship that's watching over me with these little perks or not? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good perspective. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. I didn't look at it like that, but that's very true.
So you
Very
still
true.
like really like to help people in relationships? Like, so you said you studied like marriage and family systems. What did you say? Yeah. So what does that look like now for you? Like, what do you do? And you must enjoy it. Like I'd love to hear about how you help about relationships. Like Crystal and I are all ears about relationships. We want
Yep, we are.
Ooh, let's do it. I wanna hear from y'all too, y'all's perspectives.
Hey,
So
Callie, is this what lights you up the most?
ooh, yes. Yeah. Because it all comes back down to, for me, relationships are attachment. It's attachment to ourselves, to our work, to our wholeness. So like, don't get me wrong, I love even a girl sesh with like, let's talk about, so and so, and let's talk about relationships with my girlfriends. But at the end of the day, it really comes back to like, where are we not meeting the deeper layers in ourselves? Where are we not bringing love to ourselves? So basically now I work mostly with individuals. I still have a couple people who I've worked with for years, some couples that will just come to me every single once in a while for like, a little check-in. But primarily I work with individuals that identify as women and around relationship aspects, whether it is self-love or romantic partnerships. Yeah.
So
Beautiful.
okay, so we are both single, and I would love like this is the one thing I'm still grappling with of like, what does relationship mean? Like, I understand it's a relationship to self and the other, but it's like, you have to have a relationship with yourself deeply, I think, to have a healthy relationship. What are some things that you can share about that maybe you share with your clients, or just like your views on relationships? Like what categorizes a healthy relationship?
Oh, there's so many ways I could take this. I have this imagery coming to me right now of these two beings that are whole, and they're like this, and there's this beautiful line that's connecting them both. And there are two individuals that can meet each other where they're at. And I'm not speaking about perfectionism, because this person's inner child will act up at times. This one's will act up at times. It might take parental child roles at times. I mean, we know there's so many different dynamics, but it's at the end of the day, can we meet each other heart to heart and see the highest in each other? We can learn transparency, honesty, communication skills, all of that. But like, at the end of the day, have we done our own work to really see our partner in their wholeness? Even if we just demonized them 5 minutes ago, can we put aside our pride and ask for forgiveness and sit there and see them there?
Yeah, that's really beautiful.
Crystal and I always talk about this. Like, we've never had a relationship as a healthy person yet. With another, like a friendship we have, and it's beautiful. but like what a difference I'm sure it is.
Yeah. Have either of y'all since coming to your wholeness, like have either, I mean, y'all have always been whole, but since remembering your wholeness, have y'all dated anyone, or like what is that? What has the dating journey been like? Okay.
It's
Yeah.
funny. It's like
I
I don't
haven't.
know if I'm ready, or no, I haven't. I have not dated at all, really. I'm on dating apps for fun. Like I'm just like, oh, like look, there's people here. Like it's almost like a bit of storytelling for me. I'm like, what are these people up to? Like what is just the world up to? It's more of like curiosity. But no, I haven't dated.
Yeah.
Have you? Like what is your journey like with that?
Yeah, and I love the curiosity and the openness, and that it brings kind of like a playfulness to this journey. Same. So I've been completely single for the last 2 years, purposely celibate as well too, and I have dated. For me, dating is such a spiritual practice. It's not black or white. I don't prescribe it to individuals. Some people that come to me, I'm like, let's go on a no man or no woman detox for a little bit. That also is really, really important. So it's depends on where you are, your attachment cycle, your relationship history. But for me, I've been purposely single and like in deep prayer. And now I'm just at a spot where like I know he's coming, and there's nothing that I need to do. I remember I used to feel like I need to do my new moon ritual and my full moon ritual, and I need to say my prayers and get really clear on it. And now I'm just like, he's here.
Yep.
And if I want to have fun, like, yeah, I'll close my mind, close my eyes, and I can just feel, I can like sense him in this room. I can feel his presence, but I don't feel like I need to do any of this for him to come.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I feel like I'm there too.
Yeah. I think like, I'm really enjoying this relationship with myself. I think I'm almost subconsciously blocking it because I really like being with myself. I like being with my dog. I like my order in my house. Like I've realized I've got a bit of OCD and control issues. So I'm just noting that. But I'm just like this deep relationship with myself, with my career, and with trust. And I think I don't know if I'm actually ready for an addition.
That's a beautiful place to be too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying, Crystal?
Yeah, go ahead, Crystal.
Oh, I said that's a beautiful place to be, because I find when you feel like you don't need it, it happens.
Yeah. That's what I was sensing. If your person was to walk in, does your heart feel open to receiving them?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I don't feel any need to like actively look. I'm just like, oh, look at the like hot people in Alberta. When we were driving through Alberta, I'm like, look at the hot people in BC. Like, it's fun. Like, I just find it fun.
You honestly feel like in that sweet spot, Morgan, because I can feel your heart online and your heart's so open and soft, yet you're so in love with yourself.
Yeah.
And exactly like what Crystal said, that's when the partner drops in.
Yeah.
And we take the attachment away. And so I would even reframe that, like, you aren't self-sabotaging. If you can kind of move that aside too, of like, this is actually what it's like. This is what we're just not used to it. It's a new sensation of feeling so whole and also open, right? It's like, that's really, that's when you're going to attract someone that feels so in their wholeness too. They feel so
Yep. Yeah. And then it's like the cherry on top. That's how it feels.
Yes.
I find it's like the pickiness though now. And I often wonder, I'm like, and like the running joke is like, are you too whole? Are you too healed for another? Right? Because like you see someone's like unconscious programming, you're like, I don't know about that. I see it. And so how have you navigated through that?
Yeah. So for me, that's, at least for me, I can't say this is for anyone else, but I do have to check that at the door, because sometimes that will come up where my like aspects of judgment will come.
Mm.
And it's actually like, can I love and appreciate this person as a whole, even if they never become my person? I think when I take attachment away, because if I'm already going at it, and dating sites are hard in that way, because you're already mindset thinking of them being your partner. But if you could step that away and just see them as a person, can I just appreciate the, you know what, out of them for who they are right now? And that shifts the dynamic so much. So I'll give an example. My neighbor, I'm not into him romantically, so I could sit here and be like, he's not this and this and this, but that's also not seeing him in his highest. That's blocking off any eros or life force energy, or any form of just of a friendship, right? When I'm already creating a story sometimes around him. And it's amazing because I know what I want, right? So I'm just like, he's not my person. But when I step that aside, I'm like, he's actually preparing me for partnership. He is so present. He's so devoted to work and to life. He's so loving towards me. Like, I'm like, oh, that's becomes the playground here. That's when I can really appreciate him. Is that answering kind of, does that support what you were kind of bringing in of like,
Yeah.
that is of like, if we could take almost the need for them to be our partner, then I feel like sometimes those stories will step away.
We see them differently. I like that. Yeah.
It's more of like seeing somebody as a friend, as just a friend. And I find that is super supportive. It's like, if you can just, so now I'm just looking for friends, and like, that's just my thing. I just want new connections, I want connection as friendship. And you know, that's like a really healthy place to start, man or woman, like just connections, friends. Let's just see where that goes. Like, just being around somebody, you know, like, does it light you up? Do they make you laugh? Rather than like, do you do this, 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 and this, and this, and this, right? It's about like, how do I feel? Who am I around you?
Yeah, that's a big one, because people can change who we are and how we show up sometimes. Then we can notice that about ourselves and be like, oh, why am I hiding this part of myself, you know?
Oh, this is why dating is such a spiritual practice, because then it asks us, can I not hide it? Can I open for the sake of opening right now, right? It like utilize this relationship to further your relationship with self and to life and to relating, you know, because sometimes we do get in our head when I'm like, he doesn't meditate or he doesn't do this. I'm just then protecting my heart from opening. Like, can I actually just blossom and open and be in my femininity, even if there's no attachment to this? So like, you know, it's a thawing out process of it.
I feel like there has to be, at some point though, like, whomever your partner will or will not be, in my opinion, there has to be some connection with spirit. I don't, like, for me, if it's like, yeah, you don't meditate or whatever, but there's got to be like the understanding of, okay, either like, there's got to be some of it, because like, to then go and just be like, I couldn't be friends with an unconscious person completely. So how the heck am I going to date that?
Yeah. And I think I meant like open for the sake of opening, of like, not necessarily to date them or to be in romance, but like, can my heart just like blossom and can I be an embodiment of love for everyone? So like, not like, if they aren't meditating or they aren't on the path, or they aren't, you know, I think have your standards 100%, right? Like, I know my man is going to be so devoted to God in his way, and he's going to be, you know, he's going to have his men's group and pack, and you know, there's definitely have standards, and also like, so yeah, I think it's just like, can we just stay open to the masculine, or, you know, to the other for the sake of it? But yes, definitely like you know, make sure if that's what you want, then yeah, then you're not entertaining otherwise. Yeah.
Do you see a lot of men in your that come to you for relationship help?
Oh my gosh, I have a sweet spot for the men in my life. So
Oh.
I have like a handful at a time, and they are so heart-centered. Like, they just want to feel more. They want to like feel more confident. They're going on dating apps. I have some that are married. Like, yeah, I have such a soft spot for men that are choosing to do this work.
Beautiful. I love that.
And I definitely, there's times when I've referred men to other men's coaches because some of them are really needing to work on also like deepening their relationship with their inner masculine. But if they're coming and they're wanting to soften their heart or in the emotional realms, like I'm like, let's do it. I'm here.
I love that.
Y'all tend to attract, do y'all work with men ever or around relating or conscious relating?
Yeah, I've worked with a couple men. I actually really enjoy it too.
Yeah.
I like to like, you know, crack them open gently, like get to the inside, you know, and like I
Crystal
think
told
it's more the men that I attract to work with want to be more in touch with their feminine, which I think is really beautiful. Their emotions, their feelings, you know.
you've been such a teacher for me when it comes to being in my feminine. Like so many of your practices that, so I've received from both Crystal and Morgan, so I can speak so highly about both of y'all's medicines, like life-changing. And, the practices that I feel like I've had a hard time and resistance with in some of your programs, Crystal, have been the ones that are like, don't plan for a day or lean into the mystery, or, it's been a teacher and me diving deeper into my femininity. Like you really just live and lead from that way. And it's truly inspiring. And it's been such a game changer for me.
Thank you for that reflection. I love having you in those spaces.
Oh, those are so fun.
They
And just
are.
the way you just see beyond the scene, you can see things that I don't see, really bring things to light. And yeah, so healing. So love you.
Thank you. I love you too.
So earlier, Crystal and I were talking, I was voice noting her earlier today, and she was like, I would love to talk about this with Callie about how, what was it about how the masculine and the feminine energy and how we attract that in partners or the lack of.
Yeah, like it stemming from like our parents and the roles that our parents played. Like if our dad was not like a full masculine in our relationship, like it can cause the women to be hyper masculine. And I know you and I have talked about parental roles. So what is your take on it, Callie?
Yeah, definitely that. I mean, we learned so much from the first 5 to 7 years of how our parents show up. And so there tends to be like if a mother is very, let's say if a mother or father are very hyper bearing, I don't know if that's the right word, but like more like overly attached or like kind of more anxiously attached, it can create individuals that tend to be more avoidant. And then the same, so if dad or mom didn't show up, then that creates more anxious attachment from the children. And so this can show up in different masculine, feminine. Then it's very intersect, right? Because we're working with attachment theory, but we're also working with masculine, feminine dynamics. So yeah, if you didn't feel safe and protected from your father growing up, most likely you will take on so many masculine roles because you feel like you have to protect not only yourself, but your family. And it leads you to not be able to trust others. And then same thing with if you have someone who doesn't have like an open, soft, nurturing heart, then you miss out on those aspects in your own journey as well too. So then you're constantly seeking for it. You tend to then probably most likely attract more feminine men. If this is talking about a relationship, right? To be that nurture caretaker. Yeah. Yeah. You can relate with that, Morgan.
Time, yeah. I was just sharing, my dad was over last night and I see him in a light now of like not the inner child. So I don't see him from my inner child, which is lovely. I can see him like as a whole healed woman to a father. And he is so in his feminine to the point of it's like debilitating. And it made me very emotional this morning. And just like, it's like I feel for him and he has no divine masculine in him. Like it's there, but he's not in touch with it. And it's like, I'm like, I see now why I have gone in the realms of dating feminine men or overly masculine women. And it's just like, how do you shift that?
I was just about to ask that to you. So I'll share my perspective in a second, but I'm curious y'all's perspective of how do you start shifting that to start being attracted and start calling in more energy of the masculine. What's been supportive for y'all?
I guess I'll go first. I have always been hyper masculine, which is insane. Like for most of my life. And so it's always a reflection of who we are is who we attract, right? So if we are hyper masculine, then we're going to attract someone in their hyper masculine, not so much what we need, but who we are. So balancing our own energies and like learning to be more in touch with the one that we are not dominant in, which for me was the feminine side, the self-love, the self-care, the boundaries, you know, like that entire aspect has shifted who I am and brought more balance into my life. So going forward, I know that my relationship will reflect that.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Like I'm aware, but I mean, today I've had an ultra awareness that, okay, this has been my male figure in my life. It came to like changing the propane on my barbecue. He couldn't figure it out. And I was like mad, but then I was like, okay, compassion, because this is who he is, and like not try to change him, and understanding like this is what's taught me who I am and how I think I have to be safe in the world. And then, but then, so allowing my father to show up for me where he can. So, and not
Yeah.
forcing him to change. So we went to Spain earlier this year. I let him do his shit backwards all over the place. And like, who am I to decide how he shows up? But he really wants to provide for me. He just does it in his own way. And so I let him. Letting him have the spotlight. And I'm like taking my hands off the wheel, like, I don't know best, be the man, open the door, do your thing, and like empowering him that way. And so I feel like that will heal my relationship.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's so beautiful, Morgan, because that's it. It's, I can create a story my whole life that I know how to do it better than men, or that I can protect more than men. And there's tons of evidence, I'm sure, around that, of all the times that the men in our lives have dropped us or haven't shown up. But I don't want to spend my whole life seeing men like that or thinking I can do it better than them. And so we have to start giving them the opportunity to rise by literally stepping back. And like full goosebumps when you were sharing that. I just can imagine like hands behind the back, like, okay, I might know how to do this better, but you know what? I'm going to trust you and I'm going to give you the opportunity. And like, and then let's play in that. So what, right? Like, as long as you know you actually are physically safe, then like there's no harm that can be done there. And then like how gratifying and satisfying that is for your father too, for him to really truly be in his masculine, and instead of someone like telling him they can do it better than him, you know, that doesn't feel good on the masculine's end.
No, and it's probably belittling, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, I would love for my father to be naturally more masculine. I wish he taught me how to fish and do all these things, and he didn't. But I'm breaking the generational trauma. So how can I show up for him, right? How can I give him the opportunity? So this morning he went and filled up my propane all by himself. And I was like, okay. So it was like, he did it. He didn't ask, he just did it. And that is allowing him to care for me.
Yeah.
So
it's beautiful.
You start seeing more of this in your life. This is what I tell my clients, and this is what I literally notice in my life, is the more that I actually lean into my feminine, like you were talking, Crystal, like we live in a world of polarity. And so it's just natural that the more I'm here, I'm in my back body, I'm softer, right? I'm here in the present. It allows the men to just rise and to come. And all of a sudden someone will be I'll look outside and I'll have like a steak that like my neighbor just left, right? And I'm just like, he's like, and I'm craving steak. And I'm like, how did you know? And then like someone else just came by and is like, oh, so-and-so told me your quad dropped, like your quad stopped working. Here we go. It's like the more that I can actually just lean back, like you just start seeing masculine provision come and come and come.
Mm.
You're
I
more in
love
your
it.
you're more in your feeling body, and that allows them space. If I'm here, that doesn't really allow the masculine to meet me as much as like when I'm just back here.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
That's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen relationships literally change from like the woman in the more masculine and wanting to be in the more feminine, and her being like, he never shows up and like he doesn't do this and he messes up every time he does this. So now I have to do it because I know better, to literally being like, I'm so in love with my partner and like he surprises me now and he shows up to the hard conversations and he does X, Y, and Z. It's really a beautiful energetic shift that occurs.
I think I'm going to just be very honest. I like being in my masculine energy.
Yeah.
But I like it for my job.
Mhm.
That's it. Then I don't want to have it. Like I want to show up with my masculine. I want to create, like I want to use my feminine in my masculine to create, to serve, to help. But then I'm like, I'm good. So I think we need a healthy outlet for it. Like so that it doesn't come sneaking around in relationships like, you're not doing this properly, let me wash the dishes. Because I notice when my friend comes over and she tries to cook, I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like, whoa, Morgan, like she is not a child, like you need to watch yourself. Because I was like the garbage doesn't go there, this doesn't go there, and I'm like, oh, those are control issues coming up. Oh, like I see your shit, Morgan, and like I can see my own bullshit, and I'm just
Yeah.
okay, we have to learn to let go.
And that's like being in the hyper masculine. It's really challenging to ask for help or allow someone to step in and
Yeah.
like tie your hands behind your back, like you said, Callie, and be like, okay, it's okay.
But we love that though. As women, we really want our hands to be tied and being like,
Yes,
let
we
me tell
do.
you, I'm going to tell you what to do. And we're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Like we really love that. We really want to be submissive.
Yeah,
We
we do.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Like this is why I love women's groups and also women's retreats, is because I tend to attract a lot of, I work with a lot of other helpers and healers and coaches and guides who spend their life doing and in their masculine, which yes, Morgan, like I believe that there's a healthy like 80-20 or 70-30, like as women who are primarily feminine beings, but still like 30% or 20% in their masculine. I think that that's healthy. We need to most people desire to get shit done. If I wasn't in my masculine ever, we probably wouldn't have a business. Shit
Yep.
would be all over the floor.
Yep.
But I love supporting women in this because literally like we almost metaphorically tie their hands behind their back and we're like, in this group you don't have to take care of everyone else, you don't have to worry about it being the best or the perfectionism wound or anything like that. Like you get to just fully receive, and then you just watch how that ripples into other areas of their life, like where they can really fully lean back and receive the abundance that life wants to give them.
So how can people work with you, Callie? I know we know that you do retreats, but like, why don't you just share a little bit about what you offer?
Yeah. So I offer one-on-one and virtual group work. So right now I'm in the middle of launching my group program called Beloved. It's an 8-week signature program that I'm so obsessed with. That's all about becoming your own beloved, clearing your own energetic channels, learning how to live and breathe and be in your beautiful open heart. So it's for those that are either in a current relationship or desiring to be in one. So that are desiring to deepen in their own relationship with their current or future partner. So it is about relationships, but it's also not, because our greatest relationship is ourselves. So that is running. It's for 8 weeks. So if you are curious at all, you can reach out via Instagram or my website. And then I also do one-on-one work. I do 3, 6, 9, and 12-month containers that are all virtual. So that is nervous system regulation, somatic reprocessing, somatic inquiry, attachment work. It's really fun. Breath work, energy work. It's just everything to help rewire your nervous system and feeling more safe and more regulated in this world.
Mm.
And I also do run retreats. That's a whole nother slew of things, but I run women's retreats. I support with plant medicine. So yeah, got it all.
Love it.
We'll link your website and IG in the show notes too. So
Thank you, love.
So we always ask our guests and each other at the end of an episode what it means to have an empowered heart. And there's really no right or wrong way to answer. It's just however that feels to you today.
I have that emoji in my heart right now that is, it's red and it's pulsing and there's fire and flames from it.
Mm.
It feels like to have an empowered heart is to feel soft but alive and so confident and worthy, and to see that in others, so that like when I look at both of y'all, not only am I feeling empowered, but I see that in y'all. Like I see the burning red flames. So
I love that
emoji.
I love that. Me too. One of my favorites. Passion.
What about you, Crystal?
Today I feel like surrender is empowering, just to let go, and be in like ease, a state of ease, presence, flow, to stay open and not contract. I find it can be easy to contract, and so I'm just trying to stay open. Yeah. What about you, Morgan?
I'm really in my feminine the past couple days. And so just when I get in my feminine, my brain, my ego is like, why aren't you in your masculine? So it's like just like surrendering, I guess, but it's acceptance. Today is acceptance. Just like be where you are. It doesn't mean you're less than because you're in your feminine. That's a matrix loop of like, if you're not producing, you're not good. And so just taking that and being accepting for who I am today.
That's beautiful. It's challenging sometimes to slow down.
It is.
We feel guilty. We feel guilty about it. Like I should be doing something, but really I just want to lay here and rest.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I can resonate with that. And then so I have two different ways. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'll just give into it and keep doing. Or it's the big act of rebellion, which is, can I rest even more here? Yeah, to break free from that programming. So we're not alone in this.
No, the matrix programming is real, and it's just like understanding that you're not bad, good, or what, amazing or ugly or all these things. You're not one way or the other. You're not good or bad because you're, these things happen. It's just like, how can you just be you and just be kind to yourself? What does that look like today? Not you're good because you're making all this money, or you're bad because you're not, or wherever, or because you went to the gym, or because you ate healthy, or whatever. It's like, how can you show up to be kind for yourself today? What does that look like?
Yeah, I love that.
That might mean an afternoon nap for me.
I think it will for me too.
I'm leaning into that as well.
Yeah, we can all do something while we're this afternoon.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Callie, thank you so much for being with us today. It's been a beautiful conversation, and we will see you guys next time.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank y'all.
Thank you.